everybody, and welcome to part 2 of my cart build for my Primeweld TIG welder, which is right over there. This is going to be the base. This is the base part that I'm putting together right now. And as you can see, I've got it clamped to the table, down, so let me walk you through how I got to this point thus far. First thing I did was measure all the parts out, took them out of my CAD, pulled them out of my CAD part, and then took them, measured them, with the angles that I needed. And the way I did that is by putting a line in between the two angles and measuring so they'd be the same angle. So it was essentially a line running from both vertices, and then I measured the angle off for my saw. And I'll show you that right now on my CAD. Here's the stand. That little thing is the center of gravity right there. That's it with the welder and the cart in it. Turn those back off for a second. Down here is what I'm talking about with the angles. So the angle between this and this is my cut angle. You can see that right there. That's the cut angle, and then this is the center finding angle, so that assures that they'll match up perfectly by cutting it like this. And then what I did, after I got those measurements in there, I put it over on my bandsaw over there, and I cut the angles in. And then what I did on the steeper angles is I kind of tapped it and pulled it in, I pecked at it, that's what it's called. I pecked it down and cut it that way in order to keep the saw from going all wonky and doing crazy cuts, which can sometimes occur. This is what it looked like. Then after I did that, I beveled off all the edges. I stuck them in my soft jaws, which are over there somewhere. There's my soft jaws, my vise over there. And then I put it on there with my aluminum soft jaws in there. There's a link. I'll put a link right here for you guys to check out that video if you're curious. But I did that over there. I took them, chucked them into there, and then I used my angle grinder to put a bevel on them. The point of that bevel is to thin up the metal for penetration, and it kind of allows the flow of the liquid molten metal to kind of flow into the crevice, and it's also something that's generally done by welders, and I'm kind of just copying what they do a little bit, if I'm being honest, but part of it is definitely getting a thinner metal so you have better penetration in your welds. Lastly, or second to last actually, I then took a file and a pair of wire cutters to the inside of the tube and pulled out the inside of the metal. Then after that, I brushed the oxide layer off the top, which is very important. And then after that, I cleaned both the inside and outside of the tube, the aluminum tube, with acetone. I have a giant jug of acetone. Very important to have for doing aluminum welding. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through, and I have this thing clamped down. I have all my angles measured out. I was using this tool right here to make sure that everything was square. And then, so I squared up the square parts, the 90 degrees, so like the ones back here, the angle there, the angle here and here. These middle ones I'm not welding yet. Those are just writing in there right now. Those aren't going to be welded yet, so I didn't square up those. So I squared up all the square parts, and then these ones in here, these angled parts I just kind of set in and eyeballed once I got them in there. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in, I'm going to use my welder, and I'm going to tack all the corners on both sides. So here and here. And I'm going to do that, and just like I said, just around the outside. And then if we look here, you can see, so I'm going to tack here, here, all the way around at all the joints. This has got poor fit up here. This entire thing ended up being about 1/4 of an inch bigger than I expected it to be. And instead of trying to do recuts and resize it, I'm going to build it how it is, because that sounds easier. So I'm doing the outside first. I'm going to get that completely welded up, most likely. And then I'm going to do the inside. I might do this center beam while it's still on the top. Actually, I probably will do that. We'll tack it up, and then I'll probably figure out how to get these inner pieces in there, and then I'll probably tack those in, and then I'll probably go through and weld the entire thing. And then back to this part right here, which is this gap. What I'm probably going to do is grab a piece of my scrap over here, cut off a little tiny piece of it, and then kind of hammer it in there or push it in there or whatever, and Probably not hammer it because I don't want to warp anything. But stick it in there and then just do 2 welds on that, and that's probably how I'm going to get that together so that works. Let's get to tacking some welds here. I went ahead and plugged that front part that wasn't there because I was worried about it warping. Now we're going to go ahead and run all the beads on the top part, and then I'm going to let those cool real good, and then probably flip it over, weld the other side, and then I'm going to get those cross pieces on. Let's get to welding. Alright guys, I got it on the table. Tim's over here watching me. Now I'm going to run the beads on the other side. Alright, that right there, I decided to go ahead and show because it was me fucking up and I put too much heat and I also wasn't moving fast enough and I blew a hole out. And just so you guys are, if you guys are curious, what I did to fix that is I dabbed around the hole with a thinner wire and brought that hole back in so that I could run with a thicker wire back through the middle. And so I built the hole back up instead of just trying to power through it, which would just keep blowing out the hole. And that's also how you get, if you just have poor fit up in general, is weld on the sides until they start to touch, get closer to touching, and then you can go through with your larger diameter and weld it together. So let's keep welding. Alright, I finished all the top parts. As you can see, it's standing up. There's Tim. It's standing up. Now what I'm doing is I'm going in and I'm doing all the inside corner joints, and those require a lot of filler. And then the plan is, on the outside joints, I'm going to use pulse welding, and I'm not going to use any filler. We'll see how that works. Alright guys, I don't know if you can see, but there's a tiny little hole here that I can't seal, and I think that's because this piece right here is completely closed up. And so I think I'm going to do is I'm going to drill a small relief hole in this because I think the hot gas is escaping and I can't seal that hole up while that hot gas is escaping. And I'm worried about that causing a fissure and a break through my weld. So I'm going to drill a really small little hole somewhere along this tube, and then hopefully I'll be able to seal that up. So right now I'm keep gunking it up with more weld and it's not working. So, alright guys, that works. Drilling that hole allowed me to get that hole filled. Now I'm going to switch over. I'm going to pulse weld the corners. Let's see how that goes. Alright guys, here are those pulse welds, and they're rather pretty. They tend to use this method of welding for like what they call non-structural welds, so more like welds that just look pretty, essentially. You don't want it to come apart, but they don't need to be super, super strong. So I'm going to see how I like that. I'm going to use it some more in the rest of the cart and see if I like it, and then see if I want to use it on the Iron Man suit I'm building. Follow me, subscribe, you'll see. Anyway, tomorrow, I didn't quite finish up. Tomorrow, I'm going to add these parts in, and then that will complete part 2, and then I'm not entirely sure where we're going with part 3, but I'll let you know. For me, I have to go to bed, and I'm gonna make a video today on what I did today for the Iron Man stuff, but for you guys, it's gonna be just like that. Let's get to welding. Everybody, it's done. This is it. Kind of looks like the spine or something of like some kind of fish in the ocean or something like that. See it? Like, or like the breastplate or something like that, the backside. I don't know. But it looks pretty fucking cool. It's super light. I mean, this thing doesn't really weigh much, and it's strong as fuck. I mean, there's no way I'm getting any kind of deflection. Even on those ones where there's just long legs, unsupported legs, it's still surprisingly strong how strong aluminum is. And, yeah, that's why it's an awesome material. But it's one thing to know its strength and know its strain and know all that. It's another thing to, like, have it and manipulate it and pick it up and, like, kind of fuck with it. You know what I mean? So I'm really excited to build a suit out of this stuff. But we're done for the day, guys. This is it. That's it for part 2. Part 2 is over. Come back for part 3. Part 3 will be awesome. I'm going to build the octagon and the top part, and then on part 4, I'm putting the entire thing together. You guys are great. I love you.